to the Fortitude Training Podcast. This is your host, Coach Ren, and I am really thrilled and excited to have my first ever guest on the show today, Miriam Lawrence. I'm pronouncing that right, yeah? Okay. So Miriam started lifting weights a little over 5 years ago, and first powerlifting meet that is, in 2017. She's won gold and silver in the USPA drug-tested nationals in 2019 and 2020. Set 2 IPL drug-tested world squat records and USPA national record and numerous Vermont state records as well. She's also a USPA state referee, quite the list here, and she was a high school athlete and has been a Zumba badass for a number of years as well. So, anything I missed there?
Other than high school athlete in air quotes, because it's not a very good one.
Yeah, hey, me too. Yeah, which you'll find out in a near future episode. I talk a little bit about my air quote high school athletics as well. So welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I'm very honored to be here.
Awesome. So I just want to start off, always want to know like where people have come from, and I've heard a little bit about this, but where did you start, or how did you get into lifting weights initially?
It's funny because when I mentioned the air quotes thing, but when I was in junior high, I don't know how it happened, but I found myself in the weight room in our school, which didn't have anything to speak of. It had like a couple of machines, really not even any free weights. But I was the only girl in the room, and I actually remember lying on the bench and doing bench press. Sort of one of those machine bench presses, but it was still a bench press. And actually being able to lift a little bit of weight and feeling really good about it, and I liked it. I sort of felt at home with it, and I liked sort of that I was, a girl in the weight room. And then there was just nothing to keep me there, and there was no program, and it wasn't encouraged for people, girls certainly, to be lifting, and I didn't continue to do it at that point. But I only mention that because I kind of reconnected to that when I started later in life. So I did do sports in high school, but I wasn't good. I did many of them. I was a runner, didn't really like running. But I did it for social reasons mostly. I did gymnastics. That I was quite passionate about. I was never good at it. I started too late and didn't get very good, but I enjoyed it. But I got a number of knee injuries in high school. I actually had torn cartilage and ACLs, and because of that, I had some limitations on what I could do in terms of sports and aerobics and things like that. And I basically got away from anything athletic or physical for more than 20 years. I was working desk jobs, and I was not physically active. I never got overweight. I had 2 kids. I didn't really gain weight, but I also didn't really have any muscle on my body. And over time, I did gain some. Got into my late 40s and didn't really like the way I looked, so I decided to lose some weight. Did it the wrong way, lost weight, but lost muscle in the process. And then found myself what they call, skinny fat, and then just basically skinny in a way that I didn't like. And I had no tone or anything. So like many women, I said, I want to have a body. I want to have a booty. I want to have, tone. I want to be toned. That was the word, toned. Yep. So I found a strength training program and online, and just started, doing weights in my basement, and didn't know what the heck I was doing, but it was a good program. And I fell in love with barbell lifts. That was part of the program. It was a great program that actually had squat, bench, deadlift, taught good form, taught you just like you do. I wish I'd had you at the time, but I didn't.
Well, thank you.
I just got addicted to those lifts. I reconnected to that 13-year-old, bench pressing and feeling the power of that. And the stronger I got, the more empowered I felt. And I learned about powerlifting as a sport. I went to a meet, and when I saw the women there particularly lifting, I just was hooked. I was completely hooked. It was like, wow, this is awesome. I want to do this. And that's the story. So it started with aesthetics, just wanting to look better. Right. And then got addicted to the strength and learned about how good it was for my body and my soul and my mind, and reconnected to that athlete in me, and here I am. So.
That's really great. And so you mentioned like being the only female in the gym, and that not having a lot of encouragement, and I guess that can be pretty tricky in high school. There's maybe not as much organization around that, maybe more so today, but So what was like your view on lifting weights before you started? So like before you started as an adult, like how did you perceive that?
I think like many women, I had this idea that if you started lifting weights, you were going to get big. And I, at that point, did not like that aesthetic because I had been socialized to, think that women should be a little bit more petite, dainty, I don't know what
slender.
Slender.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't even mean, I just mean muscular, like not muscular.
Right.
My husband does CrossFit, and there are many women in CrossFit who are very bulked up, the top women in the sport. They have bigger upper bodies because, they're very muscular. And at that point, 5 years ago, I would say, I don't want to look like that. Now I would die to look like that.
now you do want to.
I won't look like that. I don't think that's the thing women don't understand, is that they have this idea that if they pick up anything heavier than a 5-pound pink dumbbell, they're going to get bulky. And anyone who's actually trying to get bulky can tell you it's extremely difficult, and mostly genetics that allow you to do that. It's not going to happen. But so that would be how I sort of viewed it when I was, an adult that was not yet lifting. I didn't want to get too big. I didn't mind the social aspects of it. I kind of liked, I have a little bit of a little boy, like 12-year-old boy in me, I think. And I got some nice feedback from the males in the room when I was, the kid, the 13-year-old. The boys were like, hey, you can lift some weight. And there was some respect there, and I really liked that. And I found that to be the case ever since. Every time I'm in the gym, I actually get a ton of respect from males and females as well. So I know some women are afraid to go in the weight room, and they're afraid of being judged, and they're afraid of being looked at, and I've not had that experience. It's been quite positive. But.
That's wonderful, and that's actually, it's so funny. I'll make sure to mention that again, but that is something that I just recently talked about on the podcast, was being intimidated by the gym for fear of being judged by others or bullied by some big burly guy that's scary looking. But oftentimes those big guys, or maybe those big gals, or whoever it is, are really friendly and actually want to help you and share their knowledge with you.
Absolutely. I would say, with very few exceptions in my experience, the worst it ever gets is just neutral. People in the gym are there for themselves for the most part. They're not really paying attention to what's going on around them or what other people are doing. They're doing their thing, and you're doing your thing. Now, I can't say 100% that's always true. There are occasionally, like anywhere in the world, there's always some jerks,
of course,
out there.
Right.
But in my experience, and I've been to gyms all over the country at this point. I travel for work, and I sort of make it a point to try to get to a good gym and lift, because I have a regular training regimen that I'm very, I really stick to it. I don't skip training.
Yep.
So if I'm supposed to train, I train when I'm on a trip, and I find a good gym, not the hotel gym, but a real gym, and I, get an Uber and I go to it. And I've been well received and had kindness shown to me mostly by male people at all of those gyms, regardless of where I was. And if nothing else, they just ignore me, and they don't care. So.
Exactly. Yeah. They may have like their headphones in, or they're texting or whatever. They're not even paying attention. They just want to get their work done and get out. Or, hey, there are some really, social butterflies in the gym as well. Yep. I've known a number of them. I'm sure you've met them as well. And that can be even, all the better. But yeah, usually it's a positive experience, or it's neutral. I've worked in a lot of gyms around Vermont, and I've had that same experience. But that's great to hear. So even in other parts of the country where you've traveled to, because I forget about that, seeing you, some random post on Instagram of some gym I've never seen before out in on the West Coast or something like that. Yeah. So yeah, that's great to have that insight. And so now, after lifting, it's been over 5 years for you, and you've really been fully enthralled in it, in the competition aspect and just the training aspect, and you've really done a lot to transform yourself. What sort of changes have you noticed, like in your health and maybe in other aspects like mental health and whatnot? What sort of changes have you seen since doing it?
I mean, if I had to give a really short answer, I would say it's just completely transformed everything. It's just changed everything in a good way. I mean, I was a happy person and pretty reasonably mentally healthy and pretty reasonably physically healthy before. So it's not like I, came back from being in terrible mess. But I had a lot of back problems, for one thing. I mentioned I did gymnastics when I was younger.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's that was the reason or just genetics or what. I think it was mostly that I had a weak core. But I started having lower back problems when I was 18, and to the point that it would lay me up, and also my neck. And so I basically struggled with, my back going out or my neck going out for 25 years. And when I started lifting, and everyone tells you, don't lift, you'll hurt your back. Well, it fixed my back. It fixed my neck. I mean, knock on wood, I have not had, and I'll mention I had a herniated lumbar disc back 10 years ago now, before I started lifting, well before. It actually went out in a Zumba class.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I just bent over and, that was the trigger. It just popped. That's when I got the pain.
Too much booty in that class.
I guess so, yeah. But, so I healed that. I got that back in shape. But the point is, I deadlift, squat. I do all these things. Having had that history, having had a lifelong history of back problems, I have not had a serious back or neck problem of any sort, pain, anything at all for 5 years, basically, since I started lifting, which I attribute to a strong core. I'm sure you can talk more about what the core does and why the core stabilizes the back and the neck.
Oh, that's a rabbit hole. We'll get into it at another point. But anyway, yeah, absolutely.
So physically, that's been probably the biggest change in my body in terms of my health. But yeah, mental. It's just given me a confidence I can't even describe. I think. Men in our society are taught from a young age to be physically strong, and they expect to be physically strong. They try to be, at least. It's encouraged, but women don't get that encouragement, and we're sort of trained to be weak in some ways physically. And so for me at least, getting that physical strength, it just makes me feel emotionally stronger, mentally stronger, confident. It's changed. I do sales for a living. It's made me much more confident in how I sell and just being myself, kind of just saying, hey, here I am. Take me for who I am or don't. If you don't like it, that's okay. We can, we don't have to work together. As opposed to sort of feeling weak and less than. Yeah,
maybe walking on eggshells around people, perhaps, something of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, it just has made me feel really confident. Physically in my life, I can move things now. I can pick things up that I couldn't pick up before. I can go to the supermarket and carry groceries out from I don't use a shopping cart. I make a point of trying not to use a shopping cart. I use reusable bags, and I sling them over my shoulders, and I do it I treat it like part of my training.
There we go.
Get stronger.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just affected every part of my life. It's hard to answer the question without just rambling for an hour, but hopefully that gave you a starting point.
Oh, absolutely. I think, that's really what we want to hear about. So,
can I add one more thing?
Yeah, please go for it.
The other thing it's done is this whole thing has really opened my eyes to the value of lifting for older people and for older women in particular, and really created a passion in me about that and trying to get that message out and encourage other people my age, other women particularly, to pick up weights. And that's, in terms of my life and how it's changed me, it's kind of putting me on a new almost trajectory career-wise. I'm sticking with what I'm doing right now, but I hope to kind of move in that direction at some point, and I'm working toward that. So. Oh,
wonderful. So into more of like the fitness industry, or do you mean something maybe coaching related perhaps, or teaching related?
Yeah, I haven't quite figured out exactly the direction. I don't think I want to do like direct personal training like you do. I think I don't know that I have that talent, although I am trying to get that designation just so I have that knowledge and the credibility to talk about this. But I'm a writer, and I like writing, and I like communicating, so maybe more of a sort of writing and expertise kind of thing. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I just want to get the word out. So
please.
I'm thrilled that you're doing this podcast. I love it. I love everything you do. I love your message.
Thank you so much. Well, that's great. I look forward to seeing where you go with all that.
Thanks. Me too.
And then going back to what we were talking about. That's great. These are great things for people to hear, because there's this stigma, this perception of weight training being bad for, your body, maybe if you